It's a beautiful day in Tryon, North Carolina today, and sun is out. We had a violent thunderstorm last night and horrendous rain, but everything is beautiful today, and I'm just going to have to go down and empty out all of the water out of the canoe. I want to talk to you today about tears. There are a lot of different types of tears. There's tears for sorrow and grief. There's tears of compassion for others. There's tears of gratitude. There's tears of fear. There's tears of sorrow over sin. And there are tears of joy. The trouble is that most of us will experience a lot of tears over the course of a lifetime. God created us with emotions and feelings. Some of us show those emotions and feelings easier than others. One of the things I was noted for when I preached was many times there were tears in my sermon. No apologies. God gave me a tender heart, and there are some truths that I've learned about tears. The first one, of course, is that God created our emotions, and they're not always bad. Sometimes in a movie theater or watching a television program at home, I have a hard time fighting back the tears. But again, I recognize that it's a God-given emotion and that God has given me a tender heart. And even though I know the story is a fictional story and perhaps the animal really wasn't hurt, I still have those tears of compassion, tears of emotion, tears of joy when something good happens. Second thing that I learned about tears is that lots of tears will come during a lifetime of all of these kinds. Always praying that there'll be less of grief and sorrow than there are of joy and gratitude. But I know a lot of tears will come into my heart and my eyes over a lifetime. Unfortunately, many times tears are of grief, and in Scripture we see certainly lots of tears of grief. We see some tears of sorrow over sin, some tears of compassion, and Jesus, it says in John 11:35, wept. I've often looked at that passage of Scripture, and it's when Jesus is getting ready to call forth Lazarus from the tomb. And I've come to the conclusion in my own heart, whether that's exactly what God intended or not, that Jesus' tears were not so much the tears of sorrow over Lazarus as it was tears that he had to bring him back from heaven. Tears for the sisters because they were hurt, maybe. Tears of his own friendship, maybe. But I, in my own heart, believe there were tears over the fact that he had to bring Lazarus back from heaven, a better place than here. Nevertheless, the fourth thing that I've learned about tears is that many times it's very healthy to have tears of sorrow over sin. Sin of a nation, and our own sin as well. The book of Ecclesiastes says there's a fifth thing that we need to remember about tears, is that there is a time to weep and a time to laugh. Psalm 125 verse 5 says, "Those that sow in tears shall reap with joyful shouting." I'm thankful for that. And I believe those are usually the tears that are shed over sin, because we will find the forgiveness and the joy of life brought back to us. Psalm 30 verse 5 says, "Weeping may last for a night, but joy comes in the morning." You can't live in grief and sorrow. And you can't continue to just think that the only kind of tears you're always going to have are gratitude and joy. But joy will come in the morning if you belong to Him. I recently talked to a good friend who said life can be so cruel, so hard, and it can be. This particular person had suffered more tears of sorrow and grief than most people will experience in a lifetime, and yet she is not past 50 years of age. But even though she has suffered so many tears of grief and sorrow, she has also experienced the joy of Jesus in her heart and knows that joy comes in the morning. One good promise that's found in the scripture about tears, especially those tears of sorrow and grief, it's found in Revelation chapter 21, verse 4. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There'll no longer be any death, no more mourning, no more crying, and no more pain, for these things will have passed away. One day in heaven, whether my tears were compassion, whether my tears were sorrow for sin, whether my tears were those of grief and heartache and pain, God's going to wipe away every tear from my eye. Yes, you may be going through a time of sorrow and grief, but joy comes in the morning. If you belong to Him, He'll wipe away those tears and put joy back in your heart again. Trust Him. That's your thought for the day. God bless you and have a great day.